Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. As a kid growing up, I always looked forward to my dinners at my grandmother's house. It was a special thing to go, and every Sunday after church, we would go to Grandma's house, and we felt that love. We'd get the food plus a hug, a special hug from Grandma. But, you know, there's some people who don't experience that. They don't have a family. They don't have a home in some cases, and they're hungry. They need food. There's an organization in Greenville who is trying to feed those people and to give them that special love that most of us experience at Grandma's house on Sunday. And it's called Sunday Dinners with a Twist. And on our guest line today this is a nonprofit. On our guest line today, Red Martin, the gentleman who founded the organization. Red, welcome. Thank you, sir.
How you doing, sir? And thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I heard you speak at Dabo Sweeney's All-In Foundation banquet, I guess maybe a year, 2 years ago. And I got to tell you, what a powerful testimony.
Yes, sir. It was 2 years ago. And Mr. Dabo and Miss Kathleen have been so great to our organization. They really do do a lot for us, and they support us a whole lot.
Yeah. Red, let's start with your personal story and how this all came about, how you came up with the idea of Sunday Dinner with a Twist.
Okay. Well, through my life, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And those drugs and alcohol basically made me homeless. And so I spent about 18 years on and off the streets in Greenville and Sumter and Columbia and all different areas in South Carolina and a couple like Atlanta and Charlotte. Through the 18 years I was homeless. At the age of 13, I took my first drink. And the reason why I took it is because I never felt part of anything. And I had an impending doom inside that I didn't think God wanted anything to do with me. Things that happened in my past that I wish I was dead. Wow. So I kind of woke up every morning like mad at God because he woke me up. And I would go to sleep at night and I'd pray that he would wake me up. And then I would be mad at him that morning. Yeah. When I took that drink at 13, all that stuff went away. And so I started realizing that I couldn't drink at 13 all the time. I had to find another mechanism that I could use. And that's when I started being the class clown. And I looked at it as if I could make you laugh, you wouldn't see me cry. Yeah. Because if you ever really knew what was going on inside, you wouldn't want to be my friend. And so I lived my life through like that up until I got sober March 27th of 2018. November 27th, 2018.
Yeah, yeah. And what led to that, Red? What happened to you that you made the decision today, I'm going to turn my life around?
Well, I had met my beautiful wife, Cassandra, on April 24th of 2016. And I didn't believe in God. I had already tried numerous attempts at suicide. I had even shot myself in the chest. And when I met her, I really didn't believe God wanted anything to do with me. And she started teaching me about her grandmother's love. Yeah. And how her grandmother loved everybody, no matter what. And then I had an older gentleman named Sterling Watts who set me down one time and just got honest about God. And I told him just what I'm telling you now, that I didn't believe in God wanted anything to do with me because I was a liar, I was a cheat, and I was a thief all those years. And I thought God was punishing me. So he set me down and he had me write down on a piece of paper how many times I've been in jail, how many times I've been to a treatment center, and how many times I've been to a psychiatric hospital, and how many times I honestly tried to commit suicide. And on the bottom of the piece of paper, he said, write down how many friends and family members have died of this disease. And so when I wrote it down, I had 32 treatment centers, 8 psychiatric hospitals, 6 times in jail, and 5 times I honestly tried to commit suicide.
Wow.
Even shoot myself in the chest March 23rd, 2000.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And on the bottom of the piece of paper, I had 8. And usually when I did paperwork with him, I would just slide it back over to him. But something came over me, and I got chills, and I started to cry because I looked down on that piece of paper, and I realized that God had been there every single time, because I should have been number 9 a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I saw that on that piece of paper, I could no longer deny God's love and that love that Cassandra was showing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. With me today, Red Martin, and we're going to talk now about this wonderful organization, because Red, not only did you turn your life around, but now you're serving others. You're helping people know that love of having dinner at Grandma's house. Talk with us about your organization, Sunday Dinner with a Twist, and what you guys do.
So we started it 7 years ago, and the way we started was Cassandra asked me how the people eat out there that are homeless, and I told her, and she said, well, what they're missing is Sunday dinner like my grandma used to cook, because no matter what you was doing, you could always go to Grandma's house.
Yep.
So when we started it 7 years ago, we started out of the back of our car. My wife would cook 50 to 75 meals, and we'd open the hatch to the car, and I would get in the back, and we'd ride around with the hatch and just hand plates out. We cooked Sunday dinners, and it was in, I think, 5 years ago. I had called in the Roar station, and that's how I met Davo, because Mickey Plyler had asked me about Sunday dinner, because I was calling in with a question about the character of Clemson. Mm-hmm. And when he asked me what Sunday dinner was about, we stopped and just talked. And he kept going through the breaks and everything. We just talked about Sunday dinner. And when we almost got finished, he said, hold on, tell me how we can donate, because people are wanting to donate. And we had $50 left in our account. Reggie Pleasant, the chaplain of Clemson, had sent us $1,000 the day before I called Mickey's show. And that afternoon, the Roar listeners raised over $11,000.
Wow. Wow.
That's how we was able to grow from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's fast forward to the present time. Talk with us about how many meals do you typically serve in a week?
Anywhere from 225 to 250. Yeah. And that's, as of today, we have 78,029 plates served.
Wow.
In the 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. If you'd like additional information about this great organization and the work that Red and his wife are doing, just check out their website, sundaydinnerwithatwist.org, sundaydinnerwithatwist.org. And Red, if someone, obviously if they want to donate, I assume they can probably donate at your website, but what if someone's listening who just want to help? They have some time and like to volunteer.
Well, they can meet us at 3 o'clock at 2111 North Pleasantburg Drive at the old Bilo, and that's where we leave from, where we go ride around and hand the plates out all over Greenville.
And this is every Sunday?
Every Sunday. We haven't missed a Sunday in 7 years, except one when Helena hit, we missed one Sunday.
Yes, I was going to say, but regardless of weather, you're always there and you're taking the meals.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Can I tell one more story?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So one Sunday we were out feeding, and this is just a blessing to us. So we were out feeding, and the young lady came from under the bridge, and when I handed her the plate, she just started scuffing it down with her hands. And I asked her if she was okay, and she talked about how the rats had ate food off her chest the night before.
Wow.
So I went to go get her another plate. My wife pulled her to the side. And when I got back over there, my wife called me to the side and said, hey, she's 5.5 months pregnant.
Oh, my.
And I said,
wow.
We can't let her go back under there. So we put her up in a hotel for a month and a half. And we got her to her doctor's appointments, prenatal stuff. And my wife, we made sure she ate, got clean every day. So we did that for a month and a half. And then on September 17th, 2020, the young lady called us from the hospital and she said, are y'all going to help out with the baby? And we said, yeah, we got everything you need. And then she was excited about having all the stuff she needed. And the next day she called us. She was crying. And she said, hey, if y'all don't get up here to the hospital, they're going to put him in foster care. So my wife called me and said, hey, we got some papers to sign, meet me at the hospital. And when I met her up at the hospital, we signed the papers and DSS made them tell us why they were in need for us to get the baby. And all of them tested positive for drugs. Yeah. So we came back that Sunday and picked Sam up, and he's been with us for 4 years, over 4 years, and we just adopted him July 26th of 24, and it was 2 days before my birthday, so it was absolutely the best birthday present I ever got.
Wow, what a story, Red! What a story. So Sam is with you guys. That is amazing. That's amazing. Well, I just thank you, and I admire you for the work that you do and the impact you're having on our community, because this is an example of, it's just not the dinners that you serve on Sunday, but you working every day helping people, aren't you?
Yes, sir. And our mission, our mission statements was show love with no stipulations. Yeah. And if we do that and others do that, we can humanize the homeless.
Yeah. Red Martin, thank you again for what you do. God bless you. And again, if you'd like to help Red, if you'd like to volunteer, if you can help out financially and help with these meals, just go to sundaydinnerwithatwist.org, sundaydinnerwithatwist.org. I'll post it on my social media and website as well, but just help this wonderful organization out. Red, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. My wife sends love.
Absolutely. Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan. No Ozempic, no shots, no meds. Look, I refuse to rely on prescriptions for life, and you probably feel the same. Joey Hudson here. Here's what Big Pharma won't tell you. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the hormone that fights hunger. PhD helps your body produce it naturally, faster, and without side effects. With PhD, there's no muscle loss, no rebound weight gain, and no cravings. Just real, lasting weight loss the natural way. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. It takes 5 minutes and shows what's really happening inside your body. You'll walk out knowing how to flip your fat-burning switch. No shots needed. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma and without the drugs. Plus 15% off when you fully commit to your program, and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now, 864-644-1900. Start today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. As the weather continues to be nice with warm, sunny days, people are starting to think about freshly, locally grown fruits and vegetables and all that come with our local farmers market. On our guest line today, Lacey K-glee is the fundraising coordinator for the Travelers Rest Farmers Market. Lacey, good to have you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, sure thing. So the Travelers Rest Farmers Market opened for the season last weekend, I believe. Tell us what we need to know about that.
Yeah, so it was our unofficial opening last week with our annual plant sale, and then on this Saturday is our grand opening. It's our 15th year, so we've been doing it for a while, and it has grown tremendously. So it's every Saturday from now all the way to the end of September, 8:30 to noon at Trailblazer Park. And we have over 100 vendors weekly coming there, and so you're sure to find, everything you need to eat, to purchase, you're going to find it all there.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute. You said 15 years. Wow, I didn't realize it had been 15 years. It seems like it just started just a few years ago. Talk with us a little about the history of the Travelers Rest Farmers Market.
Sure, and maybe it doesn't quite seem like 15 because we haven't always been in the same location that we are now. So it started as a really small thing back in the Sunrift parking lot. probably about 15 years ago. And then over the years, it has grown into this really phenomenal nonprofit that actually last year, the farmers, not the market because we're a nonprofit, but the farmers themselves through the summer made over $1 million.
Wow.
And that's all money in the local economy. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. Do you think, Lacey, that people have just, and particularly I feel like over the past several years, most recently, people just really like the idea of buying from local farmers and locally grown produce and fruits?
I think they definitely like the idea. I think they love the idea. I think there's also something really great about our market, that it's so family friendly, that you're coming out and you're there with your family. And because TR is still a small town, you're meeting your neighbors who you knew, like, oh, they grow vegetables I didn't know, and here they are on Saturday morning. And so you really are buying from people that become your friends. And that, I think, is a huge part of it. You know that you're giving your money back to someone that is, there with on the sidelines of your kids at the soccer game, or, wherever you are in town. And I think that's a big piece of the whole story.
Sure. And this is how it used to be. I mean, back in the day, you kind of bought your produce from the local farmer, your eggs from the local farmer. And we kind of got away from that to a degree with the large markets, but supermarkets and all. But people, again, I just feel like they're coming back to that. You see more and more because farmers markets are really popular. I mean, there are a lot of those around the upstate.
Yeah, we have a lot. And I'm really grateful that we have so many, which is fantastic. And yeah, I think you're right. I think we're beginning to see that that's just a better way, a better space and time for our money, and you know what you're buying, you know the person selling it. And what's really cool about the TR Farmers Market and a lot of our upstate markets, we are a food-forward market. So 70% of what we're doing is food. But we also do have locally made soap, locally made laundry detergent. I mean, you really can replace a huge percentage of what you're buying at the grocery store, you can buy at the market for your regular weekly needs. And that's changing things a lot.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that. With me today, Lacey K-glee with the Travelers Rest Farmers Market. I've been saying fruits and vegetables, but there's a lot more than just fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can get some of the best pimento cheese I've ever had. You can have homemade peanut butter. It's almost like a homemade version, sort of like a Nutella. There's so much bread. Rise Bakery's there. We have a French bakery new this year down from Hendersonville. That the croissants, oh my goodness, so amazing. There's some tea, a lot of tea offerings, coffee, pies. I mean, the list is long. Like I said, we have over 100 every week. We have more vendors than that, but they rotate. Some of them rotate through. Your meats, you can buy chicken, pork, beef, eggs. I mean, really, all the things you need.
Yeah, wow. Now, Lacey, you mentioned a minute ago about 100 vendors. If someone who is listening today would like to be a vendor, how is that process?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think you said at the beginning, I'm a fundraising coordinator. So my job is to help sponsors connect. Since we are a nonprofit, my job is to help sponsors connect. And so we have a small staff. There's 3 of us right now. And that's grown from last year. It was a staff of 2. So they have done a ton of great work. And so to be a vendor, you're going to reach out to Miranda Williams. And you're going to need to do that a little earlier. I mean, you could still connect now, but it's pretty set for this summer of being a vendor. But still, talking with her is great, getting your name on a list. And then she kind of just works her magic of trying to fit as many people in as she can. There are some rules. You have to have grown your food within a certain radius of TR, and so that's a piece of it, and she'll walk you through all that.
Yeah. Now, you also have some special events in addition to the normal Saturday markets. You have some special events. One of the things that got my attention is your farm-to-table dinner. Tell us about that.
Yes, I'm glad it did. It's pretty fantastic. It's once a year, and it's kind of a big deal. This year, there are 2 farm-to-table dinners, but there's one in the spring and one in the fall. So this one coming up is June 11th. It's held at Topsoil Restaurant there in TR, and it really is farm-to-table. Like, the food is grown really nearby. And you won't know exactly what you're going to be eating until about a week before, because they're going to base it on what's growing, what's in season. And it's about a 4-course meal with a special cocktail, actually a mocktail that's prepared, and then you can do a wine pairing and add-on. And it is a fundraiser. So, you'll hear the ticket price and you'll think, okay, that's a lot of money, but it's a fundraiser with the money going back to farmers. And specifically for this particular event, the money goes directly to what we call our Farmer Fund. It's a pretty remarkable thing that we set up a few years ago, that in the fall, farmers can apply for it if they have a particular need. Last year, it was heavily based on Hurricane Helene recovery. But each year, it's whatever that farmer might need. So they apply for these kind of grants, basically, and the money we're taking from this farm-to-table dinner is going to them. So we've bought people cold storage. We've purchased, all kinds of things that different farmers need repaired, whatever it is. And so that's a big deal, and it's a really fun night. There's only 70 tickets, so it's a really fun night, and you want to get in on it because it's pretty special.
Well, you need to buy your ticket right away then, don't you, if there's only 70? I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, there's only 70, and we're about half there right now. So definitely you can buy them at the Farmers Market website, and it's really a neat event. Yeah.
On our guest line, Lacey K-glee, and that website is TraversRestFarmersMarket.com, TraversRestFarmersMarket.com. Lacey is their fundraising coordinator, so I imagine that this is a project that you're very involved with, right?
Definitely am. And also what's amazing about the market is, so many volunteers make it happen. We have a pretty incredible, really involved board, and they make a lot of things happen, and then we have volunteers, which is wonderful because it is a community effort. On most weekends, you might have 3,000 people at Trailblazer Park coming to this market. So it's a big deal, and a lot of people are there, and it takes a lot of work to pull it all together.
Yeah. Lacey, thank you again for your time today, and I wish you great luck this summer. Maybe I'll see you around. My wife and I, we try to come through every so often during the summer. We love the farmers market, so thank you for what you do. And again, if you like additional information, see their schedule and other special events, go to TraversRestFarmersMarket.com, TraversRestFarmersMarket.com. Lacey, have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Joining us on our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Ebbett. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, Joey. Hope you're doing good, too.
I am wonderful. So it has been a busy week. The legislature wrapped up, of course, and two of the top issues that you and I have talked quite a bit about, taxes and tort reform, were both on their agendas. Let's start with tort reform. The House had a version, of course. The Senate had a totally different idea of how to tackle the issue. They blended their bills to come up with a compromise. What are your thoughts on the final product?
So, I think anytime you move the ball forward, you and I talked about that. Our restaurants needed relief. There were a lot of things that need to be fixed, but first and foremost, our restaurants, our VFWs, all those establishments needed some help, and that was tackled in this bill. I think there were some things in it from the Senate that made it through, and I think next year is a new legislative year. This is a big topic, obviously a very controversial topic.
Yep.
But as long as we can continue to make progress, giving things that insurance companies will look at and relook at South Carolina, because at the end of the day, it's competition that drives down rates for all of us, not just businesses, every South Carolinian. And even for our businesses, when people are short-sighted, Joey, and they say, well, that's a business issue, I'm not gonna look into it. Realize that every time costs go up for businesses, costs go up for every single one of us.
Yep, because it's just passed on to the consumer ultimately. So, and this was a big issue that affected a lot of people. I don't know that I have had an issue in recent times that the average person on the street knew about this. Quite often, you talk about ideas, bills that are in the legislature. The average person, they have no clue what's going on. But on this one, because so many people were affected, their local restaurants, their local, neighborhood tavern were affected by this. I spoke with Representative Bill Taylor from Aiken this past week, and he said that it really became a big issue for him a couple of years ago when his local VFW called and said, we're going to have to close because we can't get liability insurance. He said he called Speaker Merle Smith and said, Speaker, we need to do something about this. And he said the speaker was kind of, well, is it really that big of a problem? He said, well, when your VFW closes, then you'll realize it's a big problem too. And that's what we had. We had, so many people, so many businesses, but they just didn't quite know how to fix the problem, I think. And I hope this does. I mean, it's probably still going to be a year, 2 years before we see any results from this.
Yeah, nothing is instantaneous, that's for sure. But people were looking at it because it did hit, restaurants and VFWs and that kind of thing really heavy. But when I go back and think of the press conference the governor and I had, and all the businesses that showed up, I mean, it was everything from our logging community to our gas station owners to bars and restaurants. It was such a wide, diverse group of businesses all across the spectrum that said, we all need help.
Yeah.
I mean, it's affecting all of us.
Yep. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett with me today. The House made some adjustments on a bill they rolled out a few weeks ago. You and I talked about it at the time as well. Mm-hmm. Turned out not to be exactly what they thought it would be. And, of course, I'm talking about the reduction in income tax. They're sending a bill now over to the Senate that will reduce taxes to 1.99%. with the goal of eventually eliminating state income taxes altogether. How do you feel about this latest version?
I haven't got into all the nuts and bolts of it, Joey, because it's something that's going to have to go over the Senate. And so you can look at it in a broad spectrum at this infancy stage. But, the Senate's going to do stuff to it, and then it's going to come back. So the idea that we're taking taxes with a goal of getting down to zero state income tax is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And as we do that, we have to keep in mind, I'm always happy when something that comes out of the General Assembly affects in a positive way the majority of people. But if we're waiting for a bill of any kind, until it gets to 0%, but when it gets to 0%, people have to be realistic. The money has to still come from somewhere. Parts of that, we need to cut spending, because you and I talked about DOGE. DOGE becomes really important when you're trying to get your tax percentage into line. We've got to continue to cut spending that isn't adapted statewide to everybody. You saw a lot of that this year, the General Assembly coming in their budget and really looking at getting spending in line.
Yep.
And I think when people think of waste, fraud, and abuse, we think of it at the federal level, because unfortunately, Joey, federal news seems to carry the most weight. And so we don't have that kind of issue here in South Carolina. We're not sending money to foreign entities or things like that. We have a balanced budget every year. But what we can do is we can create efficiencies. And every business person knows that when you create efficiencies, you save money.
Yep.
So if we can bring DOGE here, which I'm very passionate about, if we can look at regulations that are old regulations and let's get them off the books, let's make it easier for people to make money. Because when you make money, then you're buying more things. As you're buying more things, more money is getting generated for the state. And so I think it's going to have to be a two-part issue. And I think everybody's going to have to realize that it's going to look different as it goes to the General Assembly.
Yeah. And you mentioned cutting spending, and that's what we have to do. As I read through this latest version of the bill, and it kind of gives you the formula, which it gets kind of complicated, of all the things that are going to have to happen before we get to zero. And I'm thinking, and it's all based on increased revenue. I thought, well, why don't you cut spending? Because you could accomplish the same thing right away if you just cut spending.
And we have to look at, and I remember a long time ago when I was doing a debate, I think it was the very first time that the governor and I ran, and we were talking about this very issue, and the government truly funds really a handful of things, the majority of the money, right? Higher ed, K through 12, Medicaid, Medicare, our roads and infrastructure, higher ed. So when you look at those things, as the state grows, our costs are going to grow, right?
Yep.
But in theory, then people will be paying more taxes. But if we're cutting taxes, then you got to look at how you get revenue in to cover those base things, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's got to keep that in mind, that as a state, we have to make sure we get rid of a lot of that stuff that everybody wants when it's coming to their district, right?
Right.
Looks at it being not important when it's coming to somebody else's district. So it's getting a good plan in place. And really, the governor and I have talked about all the time, Joey, it's truly transparency.
Yeah.
If it's something that is really needed, then make it transparent. The governor threw out a suggestion a few years ago. If we're going to set aside money for things that are really good projects that help a lot of people across our state, then we should make just like people who have endowments and grants, right? There should be a fund that's set aside where every legislator can come in and say, listen, I have this thing that's going on. We really need help, whether it's in Oconee or Greenville or Horry or Charleston. And this is it, and kind of pitch it and let everybody figure out, but with a set amount of money. That was the governor's suggestion. And I think with, that in the looking glass, that looks like it'll be a good way to get projects done, whether it be for our colleges or individual districts, with a finite amount of money.
Yep. That's a great plan, and we've got to do something because the earmarks, they always get out of hand. I mean, we were able to cut them out there for a year or two, but then they came back. It's kind of like crack cocaine for legislators. They and I get it. That they're trying to please their constituents, and I get that. So, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans, always a pleasure. Appreciate your time today, and we'll check in with you again next week.
Thank you so much, my friend.
That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.